It's live from Brazil. Uh, it's Thursday night. So, what's up, guys? How are you? Welcome to the X Files Retro Reviews. We are on season 8, episodes 15 to 21. And that's it, Pete. We're done this season. Can you believe it? It was a quick season. Um, and tonight we will be looking at the episodes Dead Alive, 3 words, Empediclees, Vienen, Alone, Essence, and Existence. And at the end of the episode, because this is the season wrap up, we'll give you our opinion on the season as a whole, plus our top 8 picks. So this is one of those mega episodes, guys. Be ready, strap, in, strap yourself in. We have a good time. But before we go, Pete, I just want to give a shout out to Cameron Sullivan, who might be listening. I'm not sure, and Cult Lords. Both of these guys gave me a shout out on the DMs and are following the channel. They both have their own YouTube channels, so make sure that you uh, follow Cameron Lords at JURS Podcasts. Okay, you can find them on YouTube, and Cult Lords at Cult Lords also on YouTube. So, fans of horror and X Files for the win, they say. And I hope you're well, Peter.
I'm good. My internet is not as good as me, unfortunately. So you may be hearing a fair bit of this. Yeah.
Oh boy, you don't want that to happen because I don't remember half of these episodes. But guys, before I do go on, I was listening to a friend of ours podcast, Heather and Scott. They have a really cool podcast called the Friday Nightmares podcast, and they were doing their top 50 horror movies of all time. It was really fun. And I came into the horror game a little bit late, so I figured, but they inspired me to do like a top 20 list. But then I realized, hey, I watched more horror movies than I thought. So then 20 turned into 50. But I said, let me rewatch a few of these on this list just to make sure I really like it as much as I do. And one of them is The Faculty, which is like total guilty pleasure from the 90s. So
Yeah,
I
Jon
watched
Stewart's in that one, isn't he?
not just Jon Stewart. Who's the first person you see yelling at the screen? The coach is it's Patrick. It's Robert Patrick.
Okay. Yeah.
He plays the coach. Yeah, no, that cast is like a packed cast. 90s future teen stars, and a bunch of older famous character actors. It's a fun movie. It's not a masterpiece, but I had fun with it. And also, I watched Hellraiser for the first time all the way through because I used to be scared shitless of that movie, so I never cared to watch it all the way through, beginning to end, just in bits and pieces. And Candyman, I watched last night, which I had never seen, so I'm on a little bit of a horror. Um, what do you call it? Phase right now. And speaking of horror, we got the X Files, which the faculty does give a shout out to. Uh, so let's get to it, Pete. We are beginning with Dead Alive. We find out, that Mulder might be out there, So
Yeah.
says this premiered on April 1st, 2001. It's not an April Fool's joke, guys. He does come back. Um, well, for a little while at least. It premiered on April 1st, 2001 to 12.4 million viewers, written by Chris Carter and Frank Sputnitz, has an 8.4 rating on IMDb. Guys, I'm a little bit tired. I've been talking all day, so I'll mumble a few things here. Shortly after Mulder is buried, a former abductee's deceased body returns and is miraculously resurrected, offering hope for Mulder's recovery. Meanwhile, Krychek threatens Skinner that he must kill Scully's unborn child. So this is heavy mythos. And as Pete pointed out last week, the last couple episodes here is heavy mythology with a few cool Monster of the Week stuff in between. So get to it, Peter. You always start us off.
All right. I liked everything about this episode actually, except for the beginning, because it wasn't really clear that Mulder was dead at the end of what is it? This is not happening. It's like Scully sees him, and okay, he's unconscious and his arms are folded, but it's not really clear that he's dead because then he just disappears. And this episode picks up 3 months later, and
Yes.
he's dead and buried, like they've had his funeral. So that was a bit jarring. I liked the ending of the last episode, but it would have been nice if they'd made it a little more clear, like, now the dude's dead. Except, as the title says, of course he's not. Because what the last episode was about was all these UFO abductees coming back. Jeremiah's been healing them. And one of them is our original abductee, Billy Miles, all the way back to the pilot. And he shows signs of recovering, which gives Scully hope that maybe Mulder was actually not dead after all, and there's hope for him yet.
Oh, that's my alarm. Sorry.
Okay.
Because I think wasn't I said 9, and then I think your internet must have died. And I was like, you know what?
No,
I'm
my
fake.
internet didn't die. I just figured, like, fuck, you probably need more than 15 minutes. So,
Oh no, yeah, I was fading. I was like, I can do it if we do it now, but I put in my alarm.
okay.
Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, so she thinks, like, okay, Billy Miles is getting better, so, like, maybe we got to dig up Mulder and see if he's still okay, because she just has hope. She just wants him to be alive. And at the same time, there's this subplot going on where Kirsch is trying to get Doggett transferred out of the X Files because he knows that's his opportunity to close it, right? Like, Scully's
Mhm.
pregnant, she's going on maternity leave, gets Doggett out of there, then he can close the X Files for good. So all of this is kind of screwing up Kirsch's plans. In the meantime, Krychek um, approaches Skinner and tells him that yes, indeed, Mulder is still alive. Only he can save him, but only if he doesn't allow Scully's baby to be born. And he's also got the upper hand in that he's got these nanobots in Skinner that were like a couple seasons ago. We put them there, I think, but he's still holding that over his head. Anyways, they do dig up Mulder, and this really ties into what is the mythology of the last 2.5 seasons, which is that these aliens are actually not doing the colonization thing that was the mythology of the first 6 seasons.
Mhm.
They're abducting people and turning them into super soldiers. So they do all these experiments on them that basically alter their DNA and turn them into unstoppable alien monsters. And that's what Billy Miles becomes. But Scully pulls the science out of her ass, and she, instead of using Krychek's virus, she uses like a magic cocktail of antibiotics, basically, to stop the transformation. And the long and short of it ends with Krychek getting away again, and Mulder coming back to life. He was never really dead, but he was in like a state of decay as his transformation was taking place. Doggett decides to stay with the X Files, and now it's a threesome, baby. We for the middle part of this year, a little past the middle, but for the post middle part of the season, we have a threesome X Files team: Scully, Doggett, and the OG Mulder.
Yeah,
So
he's back.
he's back, baby. Yeah, like I said, I liked everything about this episode except the beginning. They actually finally brought up that nanobots issue, which kind of annoyed me that it's always there, but it hadn't really been resolved. Billy Miles tying into the thing, and he continues to be a recurring character. And an interesting return for Mulder, dead and back to life. like, okay, what hasn't this guy been through? And he's glib about it too. He feigns amnesia in the final scene. He's like, oh, did anyone remember me? And Scully's like, oh no, he's got amnesia. And he's like, just fucking with you. Yeah, so I mean, it shows what has been missing from this season so far. Like, there's been some good episodes, and Doggett's a cool character. It got back to the monster of the week stuff, but man, it's the X Files. You need you some Mulder, man.
Yeah, that cynicism and those cracking those little jokes. Who are you? And then poor Scully.
Yeah,
Uh, no, yeah, I liked it. I think it's like a decent enough episode. I love Billy Miles' makeup job, so makeup department doing it up as usual. And one thing though, like you said, Mulder's been through so much, man. All these characters have been. After a while,
yeah,
it does get into like, where did it all begin territory? Like, what the fuck? You know, it's like so much that they put these characters through. Like, the normal person would have already been in, like, you know, they probably would have admitted themselves into some hospital for psychoanalysis and just suffering
yeah,
from PTSD. But these guys are just back to work the next week, you know.
yeah,
um, so one thing though, Mulder gets buried, but they didn't do an autopsy on him or anything. Like, he was the one lucky bastard that they didn't touch
yeah.
his body. They just kind of said, "All right, let's just put him in the coffin, and that's enough." Unless maybe Scully could Scully have stopped the autopsy? I don't know if they have
I don't know.
the
That's one of those Deus Ex Machina things where I think that's why they skip 3 months ahead.
Yes, exactly, exactly. But I dug it. I like the setup episode a little bit more than this one. You know, I gave this one like 3 stars. It was all right. But you know, as far as getting Mulder back, it was like a decent enough way to get him back. And then this gets us right into episode 16, guys. And it's more mythology. You know, Mulder's back, so you got to have the mythology. It's got a pretty cool opening sequence with the guy trying to break into the White House. How come I can't change to the next episode? Or am I already there? Oh, I'm already there. That's why. 3 words. And this one premiered on April 8th, 2001, to I don't know how many million viewers because it does not say. But it's also written by Chris Carter and Frank Sputnitz and has an 8.4 rating. So Mulder is denied reassignment to the X Files. It was actually a pretty funny scene. He nevertheless investigates a man who was shot before he could inform the president that an alien invasion has to begin. So Mulder's back, and like Pete said, he, you know, his first words back was a little wisecrack, and he gets right back into being his old Mulder self and just getting himself into trouble, and you know, going into places that he should not be getting into. And I love the opening though; it's pretty cool where the guy tries to tell the president aliens are coming, and ends up shooting himself, but he has a disc, guys. Little disc that, you know, we don't know what those things are anymore. Everything's on pen drives or flash drives, but the disc says "Fight the Future," so that's a cool little
Hmm.
callback. And Mulder's body regenerates. You know, so Mulder's full of surprises. In fact, I think, is this the episode where they also find out that his degenerative brain disease
Yeah,
goes
yeah,
away.
he's 100% better because he was halfway to becoming a super soldier.
Yes, yes, exactly. He was almost going to become a super soldier, but he didn't. So yeah, Chris Carter and Frank Sputnitz. I like this though. The fact that, hey, they got Mulder back and they went hardcore. They were like, it's a new mythos. I remember at first run, I kind of got lost. Well, I wasn't even watching as frequently. I mean, I think I would skip in every once in a while, but I was totally lost with what the hell they were trying to do with this new mythology. And then I did the rewatch some years back, and I was still kind of lost because it just got kind of boring. But this time I said, let me pay attention to this shit. And it's not a bad new direction. You know, I kind of wish they would have kept it even into the new seasons because, you know, it's what you could do. given that the
Hmm.
syndicate was gone, and are these aliens coming or not? So it's a lot. This episode, Mulder's just trying to process everything. I like those scenes where he's trying to process everything that's going on and where does he fit in now? Because Scully's got a new sidekick and all that. So that's kind of cool. I was looking forward to seeing the interaction between Doggett and Mulder because they're so opposites character wise,
Hmm.
and the two of them are had a little bit of friction, more than a little bit of
Hmm.
friction to start, and it
Yeah.
was very well played. Um, and yes, when Mulder's trying to get reassigned, and Kirsch is definitely like, no, we don't want this dude down there. And he
Yeah.
throws out that line where Doggett has more arrests with Scully than with Mulder, which is pretty funny.
Yeah.
Um, and pretty much Kirsch just wants Doggett to tell Mulder he's off, get him out. Now, we go back, Pete, to this whole what's his name? Epsilon
Yeah.
guy?
Epsilon or something like that.
Absalom. He's in
Yeah.
prison.
He's in prison. Yeah.
Yes. And uh, you got to help me with this middle part here because I forget most of what's going on. I know that Doggett is. Absalom escapes. That's what happens. There's a great
Yeah. He
escape,
escapes from prison.
but
He
he goes
goes
to
to see
Doggett's house. He
Doggett.
shows him with his gun. Yes. Um, and he demands Doggett to show the back of his neck to make sure Doggett is still himself. So we find out now that this is almost like that old show V. How can you tell who the aliens are and who the aliens and who are
Right.
still humans? So now it's this little node in the back of the neck. Um, but Skinner's like, yo, we got to find Absalom. And who's taken Doggett. And why does he take Doggett? Because he wants Doggett to get this information that this Howard Salt guy, this was the guy from the White House in the beginning, had about the fact that there's an oncoming alien invasion. So, Doggett's the right guy for this.
Yeah.
Uh, and so, Absalom is trying to get this information from this dude. What's his name? Salt, and using Doggett as this hostage. Okay, and I do like that again. Mulder's back in action. He removes this hard drive from Salt's laptop from the FBI evidence room, and this stuff always makes me laugh, Pete, because this is the most unguarded FBI building ever, and we'll see this
Yeah.
because Krychek is back in this episode or the next. I forgot, but
No, the
Krychek,
previous one.
was it the previous one where he has
Yes.
access to the whole FBI bill? Like, how does he get in and
Yeah.
out so quickly? Um, so, and this is after 9/11. Oh no, this is a little bit before 9/11, but still, come on.
Yeah.
Um, so the whole thing here is that uh, he wants to go into this server room in this big government agency with Doggett, but he can't get in because the X-ray scanner detects the gun. And he says, "Look, this is the Census Bureau, okay, and that's where you're going to get the information about how." Um, how people have been abducted and they're gonna they're doing
Yeah.
tests
It's
on.
like the Census Bureau, I think.
Yeah, no, it's the Census Bureau. Yep. But guess who gets shot in the head? Mr. Absalom. Okay, so he's
Yep.
gone. Okay, and Mulder's pissed. Mulder's pissed because he thinks that Doggett set him up to die. Okay,
Yeah.
so Mulder is more reason to not trust him. Like Scully's already crossed that bridge. Mulder's not there yet with Doggett. So Mulder goes to our lone gunman, which by the way, oh no, never mind. I think there's an episode that I missed in season 9 called "Jump the Shark." I was just thinking about that the other day, similar to how Pete kind of just for whatever reason skipped X Cops. I was just thinking about the other day. Sorry, that just came to my mind when I
Yeah.
thought "The Lone Gunman." But anyway, So they decrypt his hard drive and find out that he had data from the Federal Statistics Center, okay? But there are a lot of these firewalls in there, so they got to break into the building. So this becomes Mission Impossible. Uh, and meanwhile, Doggett's really worried about this. He goes to his informant, this guy called No Roar, that we met a few
Yeah,
episodes
played by
ago.
Adam Baldwin.
Oh, it's a
He's
Baldwin
really
brother.
good at playing jerks. Yeah,
um, and he asked him, "Look, did you set me up to get that man killed?" And Roar is like Roar, how we say that. He's like, "Man, you're dealing with some shit you don't know about. You know, it's way above your head." Um, and Doggett's afraid now. He's afraid that Mulder is going on this goose chase here, but that may lead to his death. But he also knows Mulder's not going to listen to him. So he goes to Scully and tells him about the disc and the census and everything. Um, and she gives a tip to Mulder, but then she says, "Hey, maybe she shouldn't have done that because now Mulder's gonna try to break into this building even more," and that's pretty much pretty much the crux of the episode. Because then the last part is probably my favorite part, where they go old school with the lone gunman breaking into this census building. Mulder going all the way up in there, but Doggett arrives and he doesn't really need to do all the breaking in. He just manages to get in the building. I forgot exactly how. Um, and he's arriving to warn him. He's like, "Man, you're getting set up. They want you to come here to try to get this information so that they have reasonable cause to shoot your ass." Mulder's not listening. He's getting closer to the truth, closer to the truth. Doggett shoots the window, gets him. Meanwhile, all these, armed guards are coming down, and the lone gunmen are like, "Mulder, you're not going to be able to get the information." And John Doggett and Mulder escape just in time through the air vents, I believe. Um, and in the end, Doggett confronts Roar and asks him, "Look, this tip that you gave me, you just trying to screw me? You trying to get people killed?" And Roar is, not very forthcoming. And then we get the final scene where it shows the back of his neck, and he is also a super soldier. So they're building this. They're working hard to
yeah,
build mythology, man. It's coming down heavy. Um, Now I dug this one though. Like I said, I kind of had a different feeling for this mythology than I did the very first time around, and it's pretty. Um,
straightforward.
Yeah, straightforward. The pacing is pretty good, compared to the original mythology, which was slug space.
Hmm.
Um, and I like how the show is. The show matured into a 2000 show, like a little bit gorier, a little bit faster paced. I love the headshot to kill Absalom. That came out of
Yeah,
nowhere. Um, but yeah, some things are just classic X Files, like the easiest fucking government building to get in and out of.
yeah,
Um, but I liked it. It's pretty good. It's not amazing stuff, but considering what they were working with, pretty decent. I could have gone another 3 or 4 seasons of this type of mythology, see where it goes.
right.
So yeah, what do you think of it?
I thought it was good, but a bit anticlimactic after the last
Hmm.
episode. I mean, like you're kind of like as we said, like they go through all these traumas, but they just hit the ground running, and so you kind of expected like a good three-way team up right off the bat. And perhaps that wouldn't have been realistic, but I mean, it's science fiction. It doesn't have to be realistic. So yeah, I think I just expected a bit more. But one thing I did like about it was how it was a rare case of the X Files actually like thinking ahead a few episodes to where they wanted to go, because there are a lot of things here that really hint at things that are to come with this super soldier storyline. Um, The interactions between Doggett and Mulder, I thought, were a bit too brief and a bit too contrived. Like, I know Mulder's been known to like fly off the handle at times, but you think when you're trying to get your job back, you would kind of dial it down a notch, no matter what you think the guy has done. So I thought they kind of like played to Mulder's most negative stereotypes just for the drama effect. You know, it's like, okay, like we know they're going to interact. How are they going to interact? There's obviously going to be friction, but I think their initial interactions lack subtlety. The next episode, I think, is actually much better at portraying the relationship. So yeah, I liked it, but ultimately it's pretty forgettable. And while it does do a good job of building towards future mythology episodes, it's not exactly what I would call an essential watch for that either.
I agree with you because it is very anticlimactic. It's got some nice moments. It's like some old school X Files type moments with the breaking in and all this and that and third. But I agree with you. Now we got a listener, Benjamin. How are you, Mr. Benjamin? And he's asking, do you guys watch Stargate SG1? Although he might have just left. I think we talked a little too long. But Benjamin, you listen back. I like the movie Stargate. I think it's a pretty cool
I
concept.
saw the movie Stargate. Yeah, it was okay. I remember
Yeah.
the tranny character from the Crying Game was in it. That's like the one of only two other movies that he was ever in.
I don't even know who that is.
Jay
Um,
Davidson, really?
yeah.
Okay.
What I do know is it's cool. But what, like Pete said, it was cool, but it wasn't like wow. It was good enough to have a cult following, obviously,
Yeah.
which led to shows. And I know Richard Dean Anderson, was he in it, or was it Scott Bakula? No, it was Richard D. Anderson, MacGyver, because I know they used to make a lot of MacGyver jokes on Stargate. And Benjamin, I tried to get into the shows, but I guess it was one of those shows similar to Deep Space Nine, which we'll be getting into in a couple weeks, that was very serialized for the time, and I didn't know what the hell was going on. So it would come on every once in a while on the cable networks, and I would catch bits and pieces of it, and I thought it seemed kind of cool, but I didn't know what the hell was going on. So that's why I never watched it. Maybe one of these days I'll go back and watch it because folks say it was actually really decent. And actually it spawned a spinoff, I think, Stargate Aquarius or something like that, or Atlantis, Stargate Atlantis. So it had some reasonable success, and it has a nice following even to this day. So hey, maybe someday I'll go back and check out some Stargate because I do like the concept of it all. Okay. And thank you for listening. Check us out in a couple of weeks. We'll be talking Deep Space Nine. So if you're a sci fi fan, this is the channel for you. Okie dokie. But moving forward, yeah, I got to catch these guys when they say something else, they leave. If we keep talking, they think we're ignoring them. But we'll catch the next one. Anyway, next episode, as Pete said, it's actually, I like this one a lot too. It's called Empediclees, okay? And it's only got a 7.5 rating on IMDb, but I thought it was actually really solid. 12.4.
7.5 is good.
Yeah, but compared to the other ones, we're getting eights and
Right.
8.5s. This is the lowest one of this bunch so far. 12.45 million viewers. Written by Greg Walker, directed by Barry K. Thomas. When Scully recovers from complications related to her pregnancy, so Scully's in the hospital, Reyes contacts Mulder about a man seemingly connected to the unsolved murder of Doggett's son. Oh, by the way, Benjamin, if you're back, we just talked a little bit about Stargate. You probably missed that, so listen in the playback. That's how we got a one viewer back. Anyway,
Mhm.
go ahead, Mr. Peter. How you
Yeah,
feel?
yeah. So now, like the X Files is the Fantastic Four, apparently. So this one has like a really good beginning. There's like this dude who gets fired from his job, and then he sees like this car crash and it's all fiery, and this guy emerges from it all covered in flames, and he enters the guy and possesses him, and then he goes to his office and massacres all his coworkers because actually he got fired from his job too. So yeah, we got nice mass shooting to to start off the episode. And Reyes is on the case. So we've only seen Reyes a couple times this far. We don't know much about her except that she's open minded. She's an old pal of Doggett's. She specializes in cults, and she's really into crystals and shit. So she's investigating this, and she sees one of the bodies like just kind of burn up and turn into ash and then return to normal. So she asks Mulder to join her on this case because Scully is all pregnant and shit. And Mulder's like, yeah, I kind of want to be with my girl here. And she's like, well, I can't bring Doggett because this has to do with his son. So we finally get the story about Doggett's son. We know he had a son that was abducted and murdered and was never solved, that Reyes was the investigating officer. But it turns out like these visions, like the ones that she had when she was investigating this mass shooting, she had when she was investigating the disappearance of Doggett's son. So she's being an open minded girl. She's thinking maybe there's like some kind of connection here. And the episode kind of becomes like, can there be such a thing as like just a force of pure evil that possesses people? Meantime, by the way, the killer is still out there. So besides the supernatural elements, they do actually have a mass shooter running around out there. And it's not just finding him and stopping him from causing harm, but seeing if there's any relation between him and the murder of Doggett's son. What this really boils down to is that Doggett gets both hurt feelings and a bit angry because he didn't get off on the best foot with Mulder. Now he's being excluded from an X Files investigation by his good buddy Monica and Mulder. He doesn't like Mulder poking around in his personal life. He doesn't like Monica going around behind his back. So there's a lot of conflict created there. In the meantime, Scully's still having problems with her pregnancy. And ultimately, what the resolution to this is that Reyes basically comes to the conclusion that there is such a thing as pure evil, a force that can possess you, but you have to kind of be predisposed to it already. Like it's not like something can just possess you and make you do bad things, which actually kind of runs contrary to a number of previous X Files episodes, but it's a nice message. And basically, like, yeah, this guy already had some problems, but he's definitely possessed by something. Um, so they get the bad guy. I don't remember actually how he dies. I think Reyes shoots him. Reyes shoots him actually. Um, but the force possesses his daughter, I think. And yeah, that's about all I remember about the end. Yeah, the
My note here, Pete. It's funny that you're having trouble remembering because my note was like ending's kind of quick because it
yeah,
just
yeah. There's like this big showdown
yeah because he's in the
in
hospital and then I think the evil possesses the sister. She attacks Reyes over the head. She knocks her over and then Doggett comes in and wrestles her to the ground. It's kind of look. At the hospital, Doggett hopes to speak with the wounded Jeb about the connection with his son. Maybe Reyes suggests that maybe all of it was just a lead, uh, them to save that little girl. So Doggett embraces the memory of finding his son and seeing him as charred. Mulder calls him out in Scully's room, blah, 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 blah. But anyway, Jeb dies while Agent Reyes and his sister Katha are in the room. After the doctors leave, Katha's eyes glow that fiery way. She hits Reyes over
Yeah.
the head with an oxygen tank and takes her gun. Before she can execute Reyes for killing her brother, Doggett appears and wrestles her to the ground. In the end, Doggett watches a bedridden, catatonic Katha Dukes in her restraints. That's it. So,
Yeah,
like the
yeah.
evil.
So the evil transfers, but whether or not it will take her over is ambiguous because like this is Reyes's whole theory is that okay, like yeah, evil can
Well, it
be a
did take her
disease.
over, but he beat her over the head before she could kill Reyes. So it did.
Right. Yeah. Yeah,
But
but at any rate, I really like this episode. It gave us some more Reyes. It was an interesting dynamic, really, because your lead detectives throughout this are Reyes and Mulder, and they had
yeah,
kind of an interesting chemistry going on. So I like their interactions. In this case, the tension between Doggett and Mulder was more believable because
yeah,
Mulder was hitting close to something that was very personal. Gave us a lot of backstory into Doggett that was really nice, and yeah, it was a simple concept but a cool concept. Like evil is evil, and you can't fight it, or you can, but you gotta if you're predisposed to it already, then you're fucked.
yeah. I like that. I like that. Let's see if this appears here. There's a little dialogue between Doggett and Mulder, and he says Mulder's theory of evil. So Doggett says, if that were true, then what you're saying is that this man we wield in here tonight is infected with evil, the same evil that killed my son. You really believe that, Agent Mulder? I can hear Doggett's voice in my head.
Yeah,
He's like,
totally. Yeah.
yeah. So I'm not really a good test for questions like that. I'll believe almost anything, But the twist,
Yeah.
you may never know. It may be like Agent Reyes says. It could be random and meaningless. Who it affects, who it goes to. And Doggett says, "What if it isn't? Well, then you'd be seeing something that I don't, Agent Doggett." So cool little dialogue between the two in a moment where I think one starts to kind of respect the other and their limitations
Yeah.
and stuff like that. So a great episode for that. I liked, some Marilyn Manson calls out. So hey, is Satan or Marilyn Manson involved? Um, as Pete said, this is the was it the Fantastic Four now, and I thought it was a really bold move to start the episode with Reyes, because she had kind of been in, but not really in. It seemed like she was just going to be a background character coming in every once in a while, but this made it clear that no, this is part of the team now, and making it pretty clear that, as we see in season 9, Scully has a lot less to do, that these two are the ones that we're going to follow moving forward. So I liked how they eased her in, even though I'm not a huge Reyes fan. Some funny scenes with Mulder being jealous of the pizza man and Doggett, but poor Scully's stuck in the hospital. And poor Mulder, man, he can't catch a break because when Doggett gets mad at him, you realize Doggett would beat that shit out of Mulder, man.
Yeah.
Mulder just can't fight for anything. Um, but yeah, the whole idea here is that idea of evil. It's something that the X Files has uh, had great episodes about before. What is the nature of evil? Where does it come from? Is the devil real? We've seen some depictions of the devil. What is it? And I like this take on it. And what makes it interesting, when you retread an old idea, I say this a lot when I talk about Star Trek. Star Trek's been on for 50 fucking years. It's a lot of TV. Of course, you're gonna revisit a lot of similar themes.
Mhm.
What makes it interesting is how you just look at it from a different POV, or you just tweak one little thing about it and you say, oh wow, but that little thing really changed the perspective of what that theme could mean. So the theme of evil is one that has gone, permeated throughout the seasons, and this was a good take on it. And it
Hmm.
really was a character building episode. I love the scenes with Doggett and Scully because, at first he won't believe Reyes. He thinks she's insane, but then we find out what's really behind all that. Because Doggett asked Scully what made her a believer, and she says she was afraid to believe. And that
Right.
goes into what Doggett admits in the end, that why doesn't he believe all this stuff Reyes is talking about? Because he feels that if he did, then there was something else he could have done to save his son that he didn't do. So he
Right.
puts this barrier between him and the possible paranormal. So I thought that was a beautiful scene that not only gave us some more layers to Scully, the forever skeptic, for so many years, and Doggett, who is the current, forever skeptic. But it's deeper than just not believing because they see shit. It's impossible. Scully should
Yeah.
have been a believer after episode 2 or 3,
Yeah.
you know. But it's tough sometimes. It's like parents that know their kid is gay, but they don't want to believe it because they don't want to deal with what that means. So they rather just, wait for that grandson, even though the kid's wearing lipstick and,
Yeah.
panties. But as long as he doesn't say he's gay, he's straight as a male. Because what does that mean to now have to believe that and know that? Um, we do find out that Mulder saw Elvis in a potato chip on this episode. That's very important.
Yeah.
Um, and Scully has a heart to heart with Mulder, and she says, "Look, Doggett is worth the effort of helping. Like, stop being a jerk.
Yeah.
He's a good dude." So it's pretty deep. The fact that Doggett doesn't want to believe because it means there was something more than he could have done. Love that. Love that revelation. And my last note here, man, is, well, close to my last note, is this is one intense fucking episode. I loved every bit of it. And this whole idea that people can lose their immunity to evil. It's like a disease. And Lieutenant Yar is the doctor. She shows up
Oh
for another.
yeah.
I'm pretty sure. Yeah, that was what's her name? Oh my god, what the fuck is her name now? Lieutenant Yar from Star Trek season 1, until she gets killed by this googly black oil, played by the wonderful and gorgeous Denise Crosby.
Oh yeah.
Uh,
Right.
yes,
Oh,
so
that was Denise Crosby. Wow.
pretty
She's been in
sure.
a lot of shit.
Yeah, it
She
is.
was
Look,
in like Starship Troopers. She was in the 90210 reboot. She was a Bond
she was in
girl.
everything. She just didn't
Oh
believe Star
wow.
Trek: The Next Generation was going to be a hit, like everybody didn't believe, including Patrick Stewart. So she
Yeah.
asked to be taken off the show, to go after other stuff. And it ended up, hey, they righted the ship by season 2, kind of. And then she was gone by then. So she gets killed by this black oil blob. It's one of the worst deaths in Star Trek history. But yeah, Denise Crosby plays Dr. Mary Speak, and she shows up for a later episode. So she's like the every doctor. So it's cool to see her. And yeah, and the ending was just kind of quick, but a lot of stuff going on this episode. One of the best Doggett and Reyes, to a certain extent, episodes. The whole team was on point on this
Yeah.
one. So I really liked this episode. So, guys, now we're going to move ahead. And thank you, those of you that are on. I see there's 2 people on. If you want to make a comment, do it. We are on every Thursday night. We try to be, at least, talking X Files, and we will be done with the X Files shortly, and then we're going to be moving on to Deep Space Nine. So, hopefully we'll keep going on with different shows and stuff. Revisit some old stuff and talk about it. Okay, and the next episode is Vienen.
Hmm.
and it's a Monster of the Week episode. Oh no, it isn't. Not yet.
No, it
Sorry.
is not. It's hardcore mythology. It's a
Yeah,
black
the
oil
hardcore
episode.
mythology. I'm thinking of the lizard episode, which I think is next. But this is an episode that premiered on April 29th, 2001. It's 11.8 million viewers, written by Stephen Maeda and directed by Rod Hardy, has an 8.2 rating. Despite orders to stay away from the X-Files, of course, Mulder finds himself stranded on a quarantined oil rig with Doggett, where the crew have been infected by an alien virus that Mulder has encountered many times before. So it's a pretty straightforward plot, guys.
Yeah.
Uh, Pretty much, they find out, some folks die on this oil rig. There's something weird going on. It is an X Files, but the guy from the oil rig wants to keep quiet. So Kurt sends Doggett out to investigate this, but Mulder arrives first. And it's basically a reason to get these two actors together for me. In which
Yeah, it's the Mulder. It's the Mulder Doggett buddy cop episode.
exactly. And I love it. I love that Mulder, Doggett and Mulder butting heads is pretty damn great. Um, but as far as the mythology goes, it's nothing we haven't seen before. It's more black oil, so black oil's still around there. Um,
hmm
and Doggett does actually see it, so he starts to believe in a few things, that he can't explain. But aside from that, I'm not going to go through this whole plot here. It's just them stuck in an oil rig, and eventually the people in the oil rig start one by one getting a little crazier, getting a little wilder. I think there's like a Mexican dude that's not infected because
Yeah,
he's
because
Mexican.
apparently he's immune.
He's
He's immune
Mexican,
because
man.
he's Mexican. Yeah,
The
yeah.
aliens
The
don't want
black oil
Mexicans.
doesn't like Mexicans.
That's like Dave Chappelle has that great bit about how he's on the plane and uh, if he were on a plane and the terrorists took over, he would look at another black guy on the plane. He'd be like, "We're good," because terrorists don't take black people as hostages. They're bad bargaining chips. So he would just give the black guy a knowing look and be like, "We're good. Don't worry. We'll be fine. We'll get out of this." So yes, the black oil does not take Mexicans or Native Americans or whatever. It's after white people, and that's what it does. It takes over the rig, and they, all the shenanigans that you would expect for an X Files episode where they're stuck in a confined space. They get locked some in places. The radio doesn't work, and then they have to go down to the basement level and then come back up, and eventually everything blows up and they jump off the rig just in time.
Yep.
But the reason to watch this um, is just that to put these two together. Although he does remind Doggett before he jumps that he saw the black oil in people's eyes there, that he knows the truth now, and he's
Yep.
willing to pass the X Files on to Doggett, recognizing the man has given the officers a renewed credibility, and that Doggett has Kirch's ear. Okay, so he says to him, "Answer the phone, Agent Doggett. You're in charge here now." So it's also an episode to get us over that bridge of Mulder trusting Doggett with the X Files, and Doggett sort of realizing that, hey, I may not believe everything, but at the very least, I know there's some weird shit out there. There's some weird shit going on, and it's beyond
hmm
just chasing monsters in the dark. The whole government
Yeah.
conspiracy side of it. So, pretty decent episode. I give this one a high rating. I didn't put any number on here. I don't know why, but pretty decent one. I like that.
Yeah, yeah, I really like this episode too. I think the whole Mulder Doggett buddy cop thing worked really well. And there's a greater purpose to it, which is the fact that Duchovny was definitely working part time. Like, you got to give it to him. When he showed up, he brought it. Except for the episodes where they gave him no dialogue. But in these middle episodes, he totally brought his A game,
Mm-hmm.
and he definitely does here. But this is also pretty much it for him until the finale. which is actually not that far away. So it's not really it for him, but it's it for him as an FBI agent because he gets fired at the end
Yeah,
because he was,
definitely gets fired.
and that's like the most realistic thing ever to happen in the X Files,
I
actually,
know.
because because Kirsch doesn't want him anywhere near that. He sends Doggett. Mulder follows him, and they wind up stuck there. And then the whole time they're there, Mulder's working against Kirsch, trying to get him to not lift this quarantine. Kirsch does it anyway, and then the whole thing gets blown up, probably costing God knows how many tens of millions of dollars, hundreds of millions probably. So
No, perhaps.
yeah, Kirsch is like, man, you just made my day. You're fired. We don't actually see him get fired, but Mulder does relate that he was happy to do it. So, yeah, that's the end of Mulder's FBI career until the second movie.
And it's funny that you say that's the most realistic thing that's ever happened because it's so true. Like, how many government buildings has Mulder snuck into? How much government property has he destroyed?
Yeah,
And
and he's so insubordinate, too.
he's extremely insubordinate. He shows up where he shouldn't. Well, what saved his ass before is that Skinner
Yeah.
was there, but with Kirsch, he ain't getting away with shit with Kirsch. Which, by the way, I really love Kirsch, man. I used to not like this character very much, but for whatever reason, in this last watch through, I really got into him, man. He's like the perfect asshole, you know. It's just you love to
Hmm.
hate him, and then in the end, you find out, okay, he wasn't. A little bit of it was an act, but
Yeah, he comes around in the finale, but then in the last two seasons, 10 and 11, he's back to being a douche nozzle again. It's like that whole season
oh, I
finale
gotta watch that episode
turnaround
the
never
other
happened
way.
again. Yeah.
Yeah, because I stopped watching. I was going through all of season 11, and I stopped watching right before the episode where he shows up again, Kitten, with Haley Joel Osment. So I got to watch that. Um, but yeah, Kirsch is Kirsch. So good for him for playing a good asshole. Now we are gonna get, guys, and as Pete said, we're almost done. Season's almost over.
Hmm.
Benjamin says, "Oh, sounds cool. I like the X Files review. I might start watching it. You should start watching it, Benjamin. And we've been doing this since episode one. So check the channel. I know episode one we had a little bit of a technical glitch on my part, so I put a little tag there where the episode actually starts. It's about 20 minutes in of dead air, and then it comes on. Although Pete did a good job saving the day, but he was like fucking shit. Um, but then we get our act together, and yeah, we've been doing this. I guess when did we start, Pete? Like in August of last year? I forgot now. It's been a while.
I don't know. It feels like it's been close to a year.
Yeah, close to a year. Started episode one, been doing it all the way, and we're gonna finish it out. And then, if you're a fan of sci-fi, Benjamin, stick around. Like and subscribe to the channel because we will be doing Star Trek Deep Space Nine right after. And on Monday nights, if you're interested at all of what expat life is like, we do the Brazil Expat Journal every other Monday, okay? Because we both work our asses off, and I just can't do it every week. So here we go. We are moving ahead now to the episode, and we try not to give too many spoilers, although this late into the seasons, it's kind of hard not to. But we'll try not to give too many spoilers. Now we are at the episode called, what is it, Pete? Alone.
Um, it is called
Alone.
Alone.
This is the list.
Alone. Yes, because Doggett is technically alone. Scully is now on maternity leave, and Mulder's been fired, and Reyes doesn't officially work for the X Files yet, so he's all alone. But this lovely little episode gives us a plucky new partner for Agent Doggett.
This is so
Uh,
funny. It's, for whatever reason,
yeah.
Alone is not loading here on the. Oh, I got it. So this one, May 6th to 12.7 million viewers, written and directed by Frank Sputnitz. And yes, with Scully on maternity leave, Doggett is assigned an inexperienced new partner who was obsessed with the X Files. Together, they are trapped in an underground tunnel by a creature that can assume a human appearance and uses snake venom to blind its victims. So now we got our official monster of the week after a lot of mythology. So go ahead, Pete.
Yeah, yeah. One thing that's been really absent from the season up to this point was like the humor and the meta jokes and stuff. Because I think that it was intentional. They wanted to like go back to like early season 1, season 2 vibes. But here we are. It's okay. We're mythology heavy. Gonna take a break. We've done some monsters of the week, but let's have some meta humor, and they did a really good job of that with this. Um, so yeah, basically the title is Alone. Doggett is alone because Scully's on maternity leave. Mulder's been fired, and they're assigned to investigate a murder that appears to have been committed with like snake venom or something. So it's an
Mhm.
X file, but his partner is actually she's a former pencil pusher. She used to work in the accounting department, and she
Right.
used to have to. Yeah, her name is Layla Harrison.
Layla Harrison. I didn't even remember this girl. Totally caught me by surprise when she showed up, but she's so cute.
Yeah, yeah, and she used to process all Mulder and Scully's travel expenses, which is in itself a hilarious meta joke because they're
Yeah.
going all over the U.S. for like bullshit reasons, chasing aliens, and she's become this like inside the bureau fangirl. So she's totally like a foil for the audience. Like, oh my god, I want to be like Mulder and Scully. I want to do all this cool shit, and she's like this plucky little puppy that like jumps up and down on your leg, and Doggett is just he's really trying not to be rude. He's just trying to like show, okay, this is police work, like we actually have a procedure here. And she's quoting Mulder and Scully's cases at like
Mhm.
every minute. Oh, was it? So she like invokes at least 5 or 6 episodes. Was it like this case when Mulder and Scully were blah 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 and of course
Yes.
the fans
She,
all know
she
those episodes.
no,
But yeah, Doggett's
she talked about tombs, okay, and then she talked about the beginning
yes,
with
yes.
alien that shed their skin and leave behind residue. She talked about Detour with the subterranean men in Florida who took people
Yeah.
on the and I think that's and then of course the classic scene with at the end about how did you guys get back from Antarctica?
Yeah, that was awesome. Yeah,
Yes,
yeah,
the
but
X Files.
yeah, their trail eventually leads them to this like biologist, who the biologist is the lizard, isn't he? He just like he turns into like a lizard person at certain times and has to kill people for survival. So he's a big lizard man, and he actually traps them beneath in a crawl space beneath their house. And when they go missing, Mulder and Scully actually come to the rescue. Even though Mulder's not with the FBI anymore, he's still willing to help out his X Files homies. So they come to the rescue, and they all wind up getting stuck down there. And what it basically climaxes in is Layla and Doggett get really fucked up from this lizard creature. I think
Mhm.
Mulder shoots it. Um, but yeah, Layla and Doggett get really fucked up from this, and they visit them in the hospital. And Layla's like, "Okay, being an X Files agent ain't so cool after all. I think I'm done with the X Files. Back to accounting for me." Um, but they do a nice little thing. At the beginning of the episode, Scully gives Doggett her Apollo 11 medal, which was a gift from
Yes.
Mulder, which
Yeah,
is
she saw
kind
me
of
gift her.
yeah, yeah. And then that's actually the clue that leads them to Doggett and Layla.
Mhm.
Um, and then when Mulder attempts to give it back to Doggett, like kind of like showing his respect, saying, "You've earned this." Doggett gives it to Layla, who just like nerds right the fuck out because probably she's seen that episode too. But yeah, it's like the only meta comedy episode in the entire season, but it was a good one and it was sweet. It had heart.
I dug it, and I love this guy here, Zach. Uh, his name was Zach Griner, who plays the Doctor. Really good evil bad guy. He's been in everything. I'm looking at his IMDb page. The Good Wife, Law and Order, Boston Legal. So his face looks familiar. He was in Deadwood, Medium,
Oh wow.
Touching Evil, Curb Your Enthusiasm, 24. Guys everywhere. So I knew I recognized his face. That's probably why I put his. He was
Yeah.
even in the
Another thing, another
Mysteries.
worthwhile thing about to mention about this episode is that it was directed by Franz Sputniks.
Yeah, yeah.
He,
Wrote and directed.
yeah, he's written like I think almost since season one, but this was like his actual first directorial effort.
Yeah, no, it was a good one. It was a good one. A genuinely scary Monster of the Week episode, but with a lot of meta humor, but good meta humor. Yeah, so Layla, I found out here, Pete, was named after
I
a
saw that
fan.
too. Yeah,
Yeah, she
yeah,
was
he died of
named
cancer.
an X Files fan and writer of X Files internet fan fiction of the same name, who tragically died on February 10th, 2001, due to skin cancer. So rest in peace. But yeah, so definitely Agent Harrison is a full informant about the X Files and makes references to a bunch of cases. And she shows up again, fortunately, in the next season in Scary Monsters. But really dug her. And I didn't remember her at all. It totally caught me by
Yeah, me
surprise
neither.
who she was. And so great how she just scared shitless when she has to use her gun for the first time. She forgets to take the safety off.
Yeah,
Uh, and everybody getting blinded was scary. But it wasn't Mulder that shot the monster. It was Mulder found them, goes down there, and he's telling Doggett where the monster is. And he's just like, follow my voice, just shoot, just shoot. So it's real tense. And
yeah,
Doggett has to shoot blindly in the direction of where the lizard creature is. And really good effects too, with the lizard really held up. Um, and of course the ending. And Pete and I talked already. I found this blog site that this lady breaks down the whole the logic of how they got back from Antarctica, which is pretty funny. Um, so she does ask them that at the end, Mulder and Scully. And by the way, another bit of trivia is that this is the last Monster of the Week episode that the company would star in until season 10. So it does have that little bit of tidbit knowledge to go along with it. So, guys, we got 2 episodes left, and we're getting near the end of season 8. And we're going to move right ahead to Ensemble. Oh, sorry, Essence. Why am I getting all these episodes mixed up today? Did I write? And by the way, I make these cute little slides and I forget to change them. There we go. Essence. And this is a weird one. Um, I think it's on you. It's on me. I forgot, but
it's on
it's
you.
Scully's got her baby shower going. This
Mhm.
premiered on May 13th, 2001 to 12.8 million viewers. Written by Chris Carter, directed by Kim Manor, has an 8.6 rating. Mulder, John Doggett, and Skinner investigate lingering questions concerning Scully's pregnancy, reluctantly accepting help from Alex Krycek when Scully begins to be pursued by Billy Miles, who's back again, and now he's an
Yeah,
indestructible super soldier. Poor guy. Following his abduction in Requiem and Return and Dead Alive. So, whole thing here is um, Scully's mom invites this lady Lizzie to help
hmm,
Scully because she's pregnant. And we see right away that she replaces one of Scully's medications. And although, I kind of like this episode, but some shit, man. X Files, like, yo, Scully and Mulder, the two most pursued people on planet Earth. You think they do like a background check or something? I don't know.
Yeah,
figure
well,
out.
her mom hired her. I think she just trusted her mom's judgment.
I know, but still, like, good lord. Uh, but Billy Miles, he verifies the work that Zoo's genetic begins is successful. So he kills Dr. Levin, burns the lab. Okay. And he's destroyed all the evidence of this alien human hybrid baby. Um, and Mulder and Doggett, they kind of find out about this and they go and try to get more information. And they find out this is Dr. Lev's partner is Scully's obstetrician. Okay, so they want to
Mhm.
visit him because they're worried. They're worried. They want to make sure that this baby is born. Okay. Um, so later, the doctor is spiriting away fetuses. Miles appears again, but by the time Mulder and Scully return, the doctor has been decapitated. So Miles is on this journey of killing off all of these alien hybrid possible babies. And Doggett tries to shoot Billy, but doesn't happen because he's a super soldier now. And they all go to Scully's house to regroup. And we found out Lizzie is talking to this other guy, Haskell, on her phone. And then Billy Miles shows up and decapitates him too. What decapitation going on? And then Skinner, Doggett, and Mulder find Haskell's body in his cloning lab, and they've been monitoring Scully's pregnancy. Scully catches Lizzie tampering with her medication, and they've discovered that just replacements are vitamin supplements. And then Lizzie tells the agent that Scully's baby is a perfect human child with no human weaknesses. So we think she's doing something bad, but really she's trying to protect the baby. She wants this baby to be born. Okay, this Messiah baby. And Billy goes after Scully just as she and Mulder escape. And Billy is about to catch Mulder. And Scully, Krychek runs him over and takes him to Doggett and Skinner. And just before Miles gets back up, Krychek confesses that the aliens are trying to wipe out the human ability to survive the invasion. And Scully's baby being perfect would definitely go against this. Uh, and then Miles shows up again, and the agent sneaks Scully out with Reyes while they lead him to the roof. Mulder pushes him off the roof into a waiting garbage truck, which for me was a little bit of another Terminator little callback because the metallic body kind of comes back to life. Um, Again, you know, not bad. I didn't not like any of these last episodes. It's just like, you know what it is, Pete? It's that we know that it adds up to nothing, so it doesn't get me as pumped. Because it's like,
Mhm.
it's not going to lead to anything. They're just going to reboot everything and forget that any of this happened. So that's the only reason that it doesn't pump me up. I'm sure, like, as a first time viewer, you'd be like, oh, yeah, 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 yeah. But that's the only reason it doesn't excite me as much. But I
Well,
do like that Lieutenant Yar is back. She's everyone's doctor. And Billy Miles is genuinely scary. And
he is, man. They dump him at the end. He gets tossed off a roof, thrown into a garbage truck, and compacted. And he's in the
yeah,
next episode.
yeah. The next episode is where the X Files goes T1000 again as the metallic bone regenerates. But
Yeah.
that's pretty much it. Not much else going on. Oh, excuse me, in this episode.
Yeah, I mean, it mostly serves as like a nice prelude to the finale.
Yes.
But there isn't much but prelude going on, except for I think Krychek joining forces with the X Files team, just because he's gonna fuck it up somehow. He's gonna stab everyone in the back. They know
Yes.
he's gonna stab everyone in the back. But at this one point in time, their interests are aligned. Krychek has knowledge that they want. So people are like really, really working against their desire to just put a bullet in their in his head, and like, okay, we got to work for this guy, and he actually does lend a helping hand. He proves to be useful. Um, as far as the security at the FBI building goes, well, I mean, Billy Miles is pretty much unstoppable, so he may just be like the Terminator, but I don't know that I really buy the image of the FBI building as being completely empty except for like five people, just because it's like after 11 p.m.
No,
That was a
it's
little weird.
convenient. No, yes, the FBI building is the most convenient building on planet Earth. Like you can get in whenever you need to for plot reasons. You can have full
Yeah,
on car chases for how many people have died in that in
yeah,
the
in the
parking
parkade
for plot
alone.
reasons.
I
No,
mean,
the
Mr. X probably killed about three people in the parkade by
you
himself,
know, it's
and
like
then still
they
had
talk
time to
about
dispose of the body.
you know how they talk about characters having plot shield. Like the FBI has plot shield in the X Files.
Yeah,
That's the character that has the greatest plot shield of all in the X Files because everything happens in this motherfucking place. And
yeah,
nobody knows. Apparently, they don't put. Maybe they could hire like one extra security guard.
yeah,
I know. I know the economy was rough in the early 2000s, but come on.
yeah. But this episode basically ends with Krychek, of all people, getting a pregnant Scully out of the building to have her baby and being driven off by Reyes to a secure location to have her baby. So the baby's coming. Like this is the setup for the series finale. The baby's coming. Miles wants to kill her. Krychek's on the side of the good guys, but for how long? And it turns out that yeah, people know where they're going because super soldiers are everywhere. And this is also the beginning of kind of the Scully Reyes like besties vibe that carries over into season 9.
Yeah, which I'm not a huge fan of, but okay. Definitely, definitely, definitely the besties vibe. So, guys, let's finish this off with Existence, the last episode of season 8, premiered on May 20th, 2001, to 14 million viewers. So the ratings were really decent for season 8, but they just
They're
dropped off.
solid, man.
Yeah, they're solid ratings. It's season 9 that they just Carter. Well, we'll talk about season 9 when we get there. Um, it has a 9.0 rating. Mulder, Doggett, and Skinner discovered that high-ranking FBI personnel have been transformed into alien super soldiers, while Reyes fears for Scully's unborn child as she prepares to deliver the baby on a remote farm. So go ahead, Mister.
Yeah, so I mean, it picks right up. Last time with Billy Miles, he was pushed off the Hoover building into a garbage truck and compacted, so you don't have to worry about him no more. And Scully and Reyes were off to have Scully's baby on a remote farm. But like the first thing here, they're autopsying they're autopsying Billy Miles, who is the size of a Rubik's cube, and his vertebrae starts to spin. So guess what? He's back. He that slowed him down. That slowed him down, but he's still alive. So yeah, he kills everyone, breaks out of the morgue. Krychek fills in everyone that he is the super soldiers, basically human beings, been replaced with aliens who are like totally unstoppable. And even No Roar, who is actually one of these things, vouches for this because he's kind of playing both sides of the fence.
Mhm.
So most of this actually revolves around Scully trying to have her baby on this like hippie farm where apparently her baby is seen as like a second coming almost like
Oh yeah.
he's like made with alien DNA technology whatever, He's going to be the savior. So there's this whole cult thing going around Scully's baby. In the meantime, Krychek shows his true colors. And hey, if you got to give a thumbs up to anything about this episode, Skinner does what needs to be done, and it's done in style. Guy's gotten off so many times, and Skinner's like, not today, motherfucker, right between the eyes. So,
Yes.
bye bye, Krychek. You were a great character. But at the same time, all of us in the audience have been like, man, this motherfucker needs to die. We don't want him to die too soon because he is a great character, but eventually you gotta go. And Skinner's the one who puts him down. So
Exactly.
good
After
for
shooting him in the hands, which is kind of cool because he was about to take out those nanobite things that were he was controlling Skinner with, and then he shoots him in the
yeah.
hand before he can get to it, and then
Yeah, because he's disarmed. He's
yeah,
completely disarmed. He's no threat. Skinner just shoots him because he's sick of him.
and I think we the audience was sick of Krychek after a while. Great character, but kind of
Yeah,
repetitive
everyone
after.
plays out their arc. Yeah.
Which, by the
So,
way, did we miss a part where there's this whole thing Krychek's trying to do where he's trying to bargain? What was it? Oh no, this was way back when. We totally skipped the part where Krychek. This is when Mulder was still coming back from the dead, where it's like either it's Scully's baby for Krychek for Mulder's life and all this stuff. So Krychek continued to be an asshole, through this season, but he got what was
yeah,
coming.
yeah, and even after Skinner shoots Krychek, the super soldier that's chasing them, Roar runs him down. Speaking of the FBI building parkade, again, this is all in the Hoover building parkade. A super
Yeah.
soldier comes after them, and Roar runs into him, and then collides with like a support beam, and the car explodes. So big explosion in the parkade of the Hoover building. But at the end of the episode, of course, we find there nobody was found.
No,
Um,
they got a great cleanup crew over there.
yeah, exactly. So Scully is in labor when Billy Miles shows up, and the cult, like, wow, they totally come together. They gang up on him, and I I don't think they managed to destroy him because I don't think he can be destroyed actually, but they do manage to drive him off. And Scully has her baby. Oh, I think actually Miles leaves because the baby's born. That was his point, to stop the baby from being born. But they managed to hold him off long enough for Scully to have the baby. So Scully has her baby. Happy ending. Kirsch is not happy about anything because the Hoover building is apparently a shit show, and Mulder is at the center of it, even though he's not an agent anymore. And it has a really ambiguous ending that's very divisive. I liked it. It's just that when you stack it up against everything else in the series, it's it's a bit of a stretch. But basically, Mulder goes to visit Scully, who is with her new baby, and they basically concede like, yeah, like we made this baby together, like we did this, and it's like the first acknowledgement, like blatant acknowledgement that they've been doing the nasty for a long time, and that they have been a couple for a long time, and they have a kiss, and it's nice, but at the same time, it's what's with the alien baby shit. Then I mean, I guess because Scully had her ovum removed and maybe returned. I don't know. But it's a nice scene because everyone wants Mulder and Scully to be together. Here they are. They're together. They're happy. They had a baby. The end. The end of the X Files. We can leave it at that. Loose ends. Whatever. This, I mean, season 7 would have been a good ending for the X Files, but only if they followed up on it with movies. This, you could have like no more X Files, and that's enough.
I agree with you, and the fandom user does too. The true ending to the X Files. This to me is the end of the X Files. You could essentially end it here. Watch seasons nine's Jump to Shark as the lone because it's a lone gunman episode. Then watch
Yeah.
the official last episode, The Truth. And then, having skipped the rest of season nine, it's not that good. And Doggett and Ray are Bugs and Daffy to Mulder and Scully's Mickey and Minnie. Plus, the kiss at the end here is a great way to end the series. The show really needed to end here and continue with movies. The truth should have been the movie that I want to believe became. That's what fans wanted, etc., etc. And yeah, I agree with you. Like, it's got an interesting build up, a lot of tension. Is the baby gonna be born or not? Of course, you know it's gonna be born. And I just thought another user here, another comment said it's such a lame. The ending was so lame with the super soldiers because they go all the way to this farm, and I was a little bit confused. And even in the wiki page, it says, without explanation, these aliens they just changed their mind, and it's because I was confused. Like, what happened? Like they were all about to get them, and then they were like, "Oh, baby's born. Let's leave." Like, did you think maybe you could just smash the babies? I don't know.
Yeah.
Kind of gruesome, but
Yeah, it's not like being out of the womb makes it invincible. As a parent, I can tell you those fuckers are pretty fragile.
yeah. So I didn't really get that conclusion, and
Maybe just like because what we know about William from later episodes, maybe just like once he's out there, like that's it. Because you obviously haven't seen the end of recently, but the season 11 finale, and
yes,
yeah, he's pretty invincible. Like he just like thinks it and you explode. So maybe we're like, "Ugh, he's out. We're out of here too."
yeah, possibly that could be it. And then the whole cheesy thing where like he's supposed to be the second coming, and Mulder follows the star to find Scully and the three
That
lone
was a
gun.
bit much. Yeah, with the lone
Yeah,
gunman being the wise man.
yeah. It's
Vomit.
like, where are you going, Chris Carter, with this? And it wasn't anywhere that interesting. But then, you know, the last line here is, what's the what is it? The truth we both know, or something.
Yeah, yeah,
Goes up and like we don't have to tell anybody the truth. We both know, which is so. Then it adds more confusion because did they
it
fuck on
does.
this baby? Was it Mulder at the sperm bank? But then now, if you watch the later seasons, was it cigarette smoking man impregnating Scully with science, aka rape?
Yeah,
Um, so yeah. I mean, I've said this a million times on this episode, on this podcast. Yes, Gillian Anderson got pregnant. Why did you have to write that into the story, man? Because that for me is just the beginning of shit just getting out of hand. When you add this little baby into the story, just super insane. And it added nothing for me. I'm not a big fan of William at all. Although I did dig that little episode that he was in season 11, but could have done without. So that's it, folks. We are done with our season. Um, and by the way, existence is supposed to be a callback to the first episode without. Okay, so without existence, according to the wiki page at least. And that's it. We finished season 8, so we're gonna just give our thoughts here on the season as a whole, and then run down our top 8 episodes. So, what are your main takeaways? And thanks for listening,
um
Ben. He just said, "Sorry, I gotta go, guys."
okay. Yeah, it was mixed feelings, I guess, because it's kind of a bit off without Mulder, but there was a lot of good things that came of it too. Like I did like the return to that dark, like genuine horror thing, not so much tongue in cheek jokes, just good old fashioned horror. Robert Patrick, You look over his filmography, like it's amazing. The guy doesn't get used in more good stuff because he's like in a lot of really obscure shit.
Hmm.
But he really does shine in this. His character is great. Um, so Scully's evolution definitely was also a good thing, but you do miss Mulder. I think like the second half of the season, even though like the Monster of the Week episodes kind of get thrown out a bit, it really is better just for having him there. And you got Doggett too, so you got like the best of both worlds. The mythology manages to be convoluted, even though they have a more simplified mythology. It still manages to convolute itself a bit. But overall, I I wouldn't rate it the worst of the 8 seasons so far. I think it's marginally better than season 7, but that's about it. It's a close call because at least season 7 has like Mulder and Scully in it, but this is something different. So I would rate it ahead of season 7, but not by much.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm actually doing a season rating because at the when we finish the X Files, we can maybe rate rank the seasons. And I forgot where I put season 8, or if I shoved it in anywhere. But I agree with you. I think season 7 X Files lost the plot a little bit as far as getting too tongue in cheek. Season 6 was really it was the perfect balance of that
Hmm.
versus still being the X Files. And what I appreciate about season 8 is that it just gets back to basics. Let's like just have actual horror episodes, scare the shit out of motherfuckers on a Sunday night, and go on to the next episode. So I dug it. The mythology stuff at the end was well done.
Hmm.
Unfortunately, I just always put an asterisk next to it because it leads to nowhere and it just goes down in quality so drastically. The mythology from season 8 to 9. And I said that we were going to save season 9 stuff for season 9. But, mini spoiler, I was reading an interview with Chris Carter where he says, man, I think we lost people right in the first episode of season 9. And the audience just never came back. And he always felt bad for that. He's like, because I thought we told some interesting stories, which I kind of disagree with, but um, it just goes somewhere weird in season 9. Whereas 8, it's still there. It's still, and the ratings kind of supported it. People were still supporting the show and what it could be. And it's a fun season. You get through it. There's a couple little lulls here, but it's a pretty quick season to get through if you have not seen it. Look,
Yeah.
I was checking out Patrick's IMDb page here, and he has been in a lot of stuff. I think the thing with him, um, Pete, is that after Terminator, I think he just got typecast, or they didn't know what to do with him. So he was in a bunch of not so great movies for a while, and then I think he found his place on TV. He was on The Sopranos. He was before the X
Yeah.
Files. He was in was he in Deadwood? He was on The
I
Unit,
don't.
which was a great show. No, he wasn't in Deadwood. I'm thinking of something else. But recently, oh no, True Blood. Recently, he was on he had his own show, Scorpion, which actually interfered with him being able to be on the revival season, which is a shame. He was in
Figured.
Mary Mason. That's what I thought, because I know that was a show that you watched. From 2020, Walking Dead in 2021.
Yeah, he had one appearance in The Walking Dead as a crazy old survivalist. It is good, dude.
Yes, and he's in the Peacemaker now, which is actually his second time
Okay.
working with John Cena because he was also in the Marine. And just recently, I saw him in The Faculty. So I mean, he gets work. He's just I think he's
No,
really.
no, but you see him in some like my two favorite movies that he's in are Copland, which is a great
Oh
movie,
yeah, he's in. I didn't
yeah,
remember him in Copland. I love.
and also Walk the Line. He played Ray Cash. I think he got an Oscar nomination for that, actually.
Oh, really? He wasn't that?
Yeah.
I didn't. I
Yeah.
didn't recognize him. Well, he changed a lot though. He got a little chunky, and
Yeah.
he looks very different than the ripped T1000 or even the ripped Doggett that we remember. I saw a recent picture of him. I was like, what? And even people in the X Files group were like, is he doing that for a part he's in? Because he had this funky hairdo. He didn't age very well. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah.
But real good actor. But I think it's just T1000 just kind of fucked his career in a way where people were just like, what do we do with this guy? And the X Files, he was really able to show a lot of his acting chops, but it's TV. And back in the late 90s, early 2000s, TV still wasn't as respected, I think, as it is now. It's like the beginning of prestige TV because The Sopranos had just
Mm,
premiered. So if you
yeah.
were on TV, I think it still had that moniker of, well, you couldn't make it in the movies, so you're on TV.
Yeah.
So
Or you were an old actor who just wanted a regular job. Because, like,
yes.
man, back in the early days of TV, you had like, Carl Malden doing Streets of San Francisco and stuff like that. It's like, yeah,
Mhm.
my movie career is over, so I'm just gonna do TV now.
Yep, yep, yep. There was still a little bit of that back in the day. So good actor, but he gets work. He seems happy with his life, so yeah, that's good. So let's get to our top eight. But again, just to sum up, season eight definitely worth a watch for anybody that stops after season seven. Check out season eight.
Hmm.
And maybe, like Pete said, just end at this last episode. I mean, not much happens in season nine that's going to change much of anything on the show. Season eight, Pete, what's your number eight pick? I had a hard time finding my eights that I liked here. Short season.
Yeah, I just did mine in like the last 5 minutes actually, because honestly, I wasn't sure my internet would hold up through this. Funny because it fucked with three different jobs I had today, and now it works fine now that I'm not getting paid for it. But whatever, I'm getting paid for that shit anyway because I tried. Okay, so my number eight is Dead Alive, Return of Mulder. They did it in a pretty cool way, and yeah, the other thing I didn't really like about it was the beginning, but it introduced a new mythology. Not introduced it, but developed it and fleshed it out a bit. Brought Mulder back in a way that kind of worked, and yeah, started the new direction. So an important episode too.
Yeah, I got the number eight as Via Negativa,
Hmm.
where it's just that weird episode that just gives us a different side of Doggett just being scared shitless while him and Skinner team up
Yeah,
for the case and leave Scully on the bed.
yeah,
Oh, by the way, Badla is not in my top eight, but I gotta give it an honorable mention just for being so weird that, and it's a bad episode, but it's so weird it's worth the watch. But I just wanted to give that episode a shout out. Go ahead, Pete.
My number seven is Alone. Kind of wanted to rate that higher, but I really generally tend to give Monster of the Week episodes higher ratings than mythology episodes, and since there were so many good ones in this season, kind of bumped that down a bit. But I love it. I love cute little Agent Harris and her X Files nerdiness, and the idea that she was supposed to be the fans, and how the agents like actually really embraced her too. I thought that was something really nice. Like they found her annoying, but they were impressed that like, hey, somebody's watching, somebody cared.
Somebody cares. It's the fans.
Yeah.
I put my number seven as Vienen, and pretty much for the reasons I stated in the review. It's cool to see the interaction between Mulder and Scully because that's Mulder and Scully, Mulder and Doggett, because that's what the fans were waiting for. They're like, Mulder's back, but what's he really gonna be like when he's back to 100% Mulder, and he's got to deal with Doggett? Because we know Scully is a little, has a softer edges, and she eventually came around to him, but Mulder isn't. And this is a cool episode that gave us. the Doggett that now is the
Hmm.
one that's got to answer the phone. His mother's out. He's fired.
Yeah. So my number six, I guess, is not happening, or this is not happening.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, pretty intense episode. One of those like throwbacks to the really cinematic X Files after all of these episodes, because the first half is all Monster of the Week stuff, where they have these like set locations that are really darkly lit, hiring cast on location. And this is when they really got back to doing these episodes where this happens, and we have the budget to make something look good. The actors were really on point, and it did leave you hanging. But for a change, it didn't leave you hanging for like 3 months. Like you were getting a follow up like 1 or 2 weeks later. So yeah, good cinematic episode, good mythology episode, and it also leads into the return of Mulder.
Yes, and let's let's take a little pause with our top eight because we forgot to do something, which is skip and watch for this. So really
All
quick
right.
here, live. I say watch definitely. It's your top
Sorry.
eight, so I imagine it's a watch.
Yeah,
Mulder's
yeah,
back.
yeah. I just got Benjamin blocking the thing there, but yeah, it's a watch.
Yeah, 3 words also for me. Well, it could be a skip.
I would skip this one because even though it's a
Yeah,
mythology episode, it's not terribly important.
yes, it's pretty inconsequential. Empodicles, I say watch.
Yeah, I'm
What's
gonna
up?
say watch. After discussing it, I've changed my mind. I would have said skip because I didn't remember it that well, but yeah, it's an important episode more than the previous one actually. So
Yes.
watch.
And then Vienen, Buddy Cop, love it.
Yeah,
I say
watch,
Alone,
watch.
that's a definite watch. In Essence,
Yeah, that is. I You can't skip it. You can't skip it. If you're gonna understand the finale, you have to watch this.
yeah, unfortunately it gets you with that. Not my favorite, but I guess you do gotta watch it
No, I
briefly.
didn't really like it, but you have to.
Yeah. And then I guess the last two, well, what happened to episode 20? But anyway, watch the last two. There you go.
Yeah,
I would say watch the last two definitely. And
yeah.
I imagine Pete thinks the same, which is Essence and Existence. Because their back to back finale, pretty much. Good 2 hour
Hmm.
movie. Anyway, but back to our list here. My number, wait, what is this? 876 is Within. And I think it's the only mythology episode I put on here,
Oh
which
wow.
is the first episode of the
Hmm.
eighth season, which I really liked. It's just full of action, full of suspense. It introduces Doggett. It lets us know that the show is going in a different direction. And I just like everything about it. I'm not a big fan of part two, but I think part one is really well written and really well paced. It's a cool episode. Get you right in, right back in the driver's seat. All right, go ahead.
All right. Number five, taking us to the Boston subway, and that is Medusa. Great premise, great setting. It was almost like Doom, except it didn't have monsters. It had like water parasites that ignited through sweat and burned people's flesh off. It was really nasty, but it was also like a good turning point for the Mulder or for the Scully Doggett relationship, just in how for the first few episodes he's the guy being the cop's cop. He's got her back, and in this case, she's got his back. Um, but yeah, I mean, like classic Monster of the Week episode. I thought.
I agree with you. It's a little higher on my list, actually. I put Empodicles as my number 5, Well, the reasons I stated, man, it's a deep episode. I mean, it's themes that X Files has dealt with before, but it's done from a different angle, from the Doggett angle. Gives us some nice layers into the Doggett character, why he doesn't believe. Even breaks down a little bit of Scully, why she was a skeptic for so long. It kind of allows Mulder to warm up to Doggett a little bit. At least Scully tells him, he's worth, fighting for. Decent Reyes, although
Hmm.
annoying, but okay. She doesn't do much, but plays a good part. Um, Good episode all around. I thought it was a really heartfelt episode, and it also resolves the Doggett child of his son being abducted
It
storyline.
doesn't resolve it actually. That gets resolved in the ninth season, about as satisfactorily as Samantha's abduction does.
Oh, because oh yes, I forgot about that. But it gives us, pretty. It resolves it in the sense that we know what the fuck it is, and he seems to,
Yes, yeah. It gives us details.
yes, be okay with the fact that it may not be so supernatural. Anyway, go ahead. Number four.
Number four for me would be Without, which was a good segue into what would become season eight. Um, yeah, not much to say about it really. The previous episode ends with Mulder falling off a cliff and getting splattered, and then Doggett having to chase a alien bounty hunter around the desert while not believing in aliens. Well, Mulder is right there too. That's something we didn't discuss in the last podcast, but there's a scene where they're like Scully is like screaming his name in the desert, and he's literally right next to her. There's like an invisibility cloak around the flying saucer, and Mulder can hear her. He's like, Scully, but no, she doesn't hear him. But
Oh,
yeah, Without was definitely a good companion piece to the season opener to kick shit off.
no, I like it. I like both within and without. I just liked within a little bit better. But they're both pretty good. Double dose. And then my number four is Alone, which we talked about at length. Great meta episode. One of the probably the only kind of comedy episode this season that I can remember,
Hmm.
unless you count Bad Luck, and which is unintentionally funny. And
Yeah.
we have Agent Harrison, which is the audience. So it's a little love letter to the audience. It's so cute, but it's cute in all the right ways. I love it. It's scary as fuck. Great monster.
Yeah,
I
yeah, because it does feel like they're pretty fucked. It's like there's nobody left to rescue them because they're all in that cellar now, like even Mulder. And half of them are blind with lizard poison. It's like this monster is pretty badass.
Yep, yep, yep. And that leads us to your number three pick.
My number three would be the season finale, Existence. As some have said, it would have been a perfect ending to everything. No movies required, even.
Mhm.
Wraps everything up nicely. I mean, they don't defeat the aliens making the super soldiers, but apparently the baby being born just scares them the fuck away. So, okay, the bad guys are defeated. Scully had her baby. Mulder's out of the FBI, so he doesn't have that stress anymore. He and Scully can raise their baby and live happily ever after. And Doggett's an X Files man. And the end. The end.
Yes. And Reyes can keep being annoying. So it's all good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I never thought about it that way, as that would be a good ending, but now I kind of feel it. My number three episode. Oh, and little trivia about this last episode. It's the only one that does not feature Cancer Man. He's always in a finale. He wasn't in this one. My
Oh.
number three episode is Medusa, which
Hmm.
is the Boston Subway. And again, super scary, or not scary, but tense episode that just harkens back to those season one feels of like ice and uh, Oh,
Yeah, it reminded me of Ice because of the science team, but it
yeah.
also reminded me a little bit of the blood sucking worm episode just because it did take place in the subway and it did have these like dark underground environments.
Which is the blood sucking worm one?
Pretty sure it was season two, early season. Fluke.
Oh, Fluke, the Fluke man.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
And a little bit of this episode that I love, and I can never remember the title of. It's like one of my favorite episodes ever of the X Files, and I can never remember the title. Darkness Falls. Yes, that's a great one. So it's just
Hmm.
got this feeling of like you can't get away from whatever this thing is. And it's gonna get you, and you're stuck. So dug it. And of course, as Pete mentioned, a great episode to get the Scully and Doggett dynamic going, where she's got his back, he's got her back. It's all good. Number two.
Number two would be Within. Like, if you were thinking of not watching the show because Duchovny's not a regular character anymore, well, this hopefully should sell you. It's a really bright episode, too, because they filmed it
Yes.
all in the desert. Robert Patrick sweating like a pig wearing that suit throughout most of the episode. Um, it has that classic moment that became part of the credits where the bounty hunter disguised as Mulder goes backwards off the cliff. But it really introduced a lot of new elements that helped make season 8 pretty palatable.
I agree with you. I compared it, I think, to season six opening episode where it just showed, look, we're in LA now. There's a different show. Ride with it, but look, we're going to give you a good product that you can ride with. And this was the same thing. It came out strong, bright, uh, action packed. I think I even mentioned like the camera works, kind of like it's got this NYPD blues vibe. Kind of shake
Right.
camera. It just feels like the X Files made it to the 2000s and understood, look, this is what TV feels like now, and we can do it too. Um, and we've arrived the new century and into season 8 without Mulder, and it works. And Pete, my number two, you won't believe it. You didn't like these episodes. You didn't like my number two and number one episodes very much, but they are my favorite episodes of the season. And the first one is Patience with the vampire, whatever, this huge bat creature, like in Batman the
Oh my
Animated.
gosh. I've forgotten that again. Again. We just talked about it like 2 weeks ago. I've already.
I know, and I'm the opposite, where I was like, I can't wait to get to season 8 to watch this episode because I absolutely get freaked out every time I watch it. I just love the creature effects. Uh, the little story, moves along. It's got a couple windy little bits to it, so I can't ever recall it all, which I think is why I like to watch this episode over and over. But yeah, I dig it, man. For me, this was the same way Pete was just saying, within and without. Give us, this is the new X Files. This is what we're dealing with. Patience, and the episode that comes after let us know, look, we're going dark. Forget all the tongue in cheek stuff, forget all the meta jokes. This is back season 1, 2, 3 X Files, with really scary monsters, gore, and all of that. So I dug it. I like it a lot.
Okay, so I guess it's up to me for number one. That would be Vienen. I think it blends all the best aspects of season 8.
What is it?
It's got Vienen.
Oh, Vienna. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a mythology episode. It's also kind of a monster of the week episode, except that the monster of the week is the black oil. It has humor. It has a lot of humor.
Mm.
It has most of the characters. I think everyone is in it except for Reyes, but you got Skinner in there, Kirsch, Mulder, Doggett. The buddy cop aspect worked great. Good cinematic value. I don't know what I I think I was reading on Wikipedia that the average X Files episode took 16 days to make, and this took like 11, but they had to work 14-hour days to do it because they had limited use of this set that was used as the oil rig. So yeah, people
Oh, I
busted their
saw that.
asses.
I don't know what they were
Yeah,
saying. Yeah.
yeah, people busted their asses to make this episode. And yeah, like you said, it's there's not much to the plot. It's just the black oil taking over an oil rig, but it's all the human elements that were going on in it as well that I think really made it the perfect mix of all the elements of this season.
For sure. Sometimes when you got a good cast, you got a good let some actors just put them somewhere and let them
Yeah,
act. Let them do their shit. Write them some good dialogue and let them do their shit. And that's what this episode does. So I dig it. And then my number one episode is probably another one that Pete forgot because I remember he didn't like it very much when I mentioned it at first. But it's my favorite episode of this season and the one I was looking forward to the most. And it's Roadrunners, where
right.
Scully still doesn't trust Doggett very much and just goes out on her own to try to investigate something. Well, sort of yes and no, but in either case. And she gets caught by this weird Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Hills Have Eyes type, community out in the middle
Yeah,
of nowhere and gets little Jesus slug
yeah,
in
baby
the back.
slug,
Ugh.
Jesus, baby Jesus slugs stuffed up his
Baby
spine.
Jesus slugs. It's so disgusting, so gory. And I'm like, oh, I had missed this X Files for so long. As much as I love season 6 and 5, but I had missed the old school X Files where they just didn't give a shit and like just went full out with the gore and the really nasty stuff. And you can't get nastier than them opening Scully's back up and she's screaming,
Yeah.
ah! It's
Yeah,
great.
and you can see the big lump moving up towards her
Oh
brain.
yes. No, don't do this, please. Oh, great episode. I love it. I love it. That's my favorite one. So, y'all, that is it. We are done. Thank you for listening to the X Files Retro Review, Season 8, Episodes 15 through 21. We will be back next week to talk about the much maligned Season 9. By the way, Jump the Shark, Pete. That's the episode where our
That's
boys
the one where
die.
the lone gunmen all die. Yeah,
Oh, then I did watch it. I was mixing up the names. That's why it came to mind then when we were talking about them, and then that episode came to mind because I thought it was them.
yeah.
Anyway, okay, so I did watch that one. Yeah, so we'll get into season 9 and talk about that, guys. Today nights was an extra long episode, and I'm tired. We're gonna go to bed, but we will be here next week. Thank you for listening. Thank you, Benjamin, for listening. Thank you those that sent comments and those guys that sent me comments in the DMs. Thanks for supporting the show. Don't forget to like and subscribe, which I should have said at the start. Bye.
All right. Cheers, everyone.